So when did you see the potential of the Bitcoin currency and the blockchain industry across the board? Like, how long ago was that?
Well, it came before that, because in 2004, something like that, I talked to this guy from Korea, and he said, yeah, half of Korea is playing this game Lineage. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. And it's so important that I've hired a guy to be my avatar when I go to work. And I said, whoa. And so then I started to think, whoa, so people are using fiat money to buy virtual goods.
Yep.
And then I thought, and there's going to be money in those games, and it's going to be virtual money. And then I thought, well, virtual money would, digital money would go across from game to game, and then there'd be a whole new currency. So I was watching for it, and I thought it would be game to game, but it turned out that Bitcoin showed up, and all of a sudden you had a completely trusted, controlled environment. The decentralized part was even better, even more than you could expect. And then the blockchain was this thing that kept perfect records. There isn't a better banking system in the world. And I got very excited about it. I bought a bunch of Bitcoin.
How much did you pay for it back then? Because I remember this back when I first heard about
$4. Well, $4 a Bitcoin, but then it disappeared in the Mt. Gox thing, where they disappeared the money, and I lost the whole thing. And I thought, oh, too bad. Well, that's the end of that. Well, maybe there'll be another one that comes along. But no, Bitcoin didn't disappear after that. And I thought, my God, that's like they had 60% market share on the trading, and they just stole the money or disappeared the money. And I thought, ooh, this is gone. But it wasn't. It dropped only 10% on the news. And I thought, oh boy, people really need this. And that's when I really dug in. And
it was about 2013, wasn't it?
No,
2012, the Mt. Gox thing?
No, I think I bought the auction money in 2013. I think it was like 2011, 2012 when I was I was sort of buying some and learning more and building and trying to figure it out. And a real light bulb went off when Sebastian Serrano went through Boost. And Boost is an accelerator my son created. And he went through Boost, and he said, I've lived in Argentina all my life, and my parents' fortune has been built and then disappeared 3 times in my life, and I'm only 30 years old. And he said, so currency manipulation is almost worse than one of these African governments that comes in and says your money, I'm taking your business from you with guns. So anyway, he said Bitcoin is our savior. There are only 21 million of them. They can't inflate out of it. They can't print money and destroy my value. I can build a business that has great value, and no one can take that away because it's global and it's frictionless and can move from one country to another.
Sure.
So he got very excited. He created something called Ripio, which is one of the leaders in Latin America. It's like the Coinbase for Latin America. And I thank him periodically for all that he's done, because he basically guided, there were other things. You could do remittance across border, you could do micro payments, you can do things you can't do with fiat currency.
I mean,
and it is more trusted, more stable, all those things. People say, oh, it's very volatile. And I say, what are you talking about? 1 Bitcoin is worth 1 Bitcoin. It's all these other currencies that are very volatile as they slowly disappear from use. And then they say, well, so are you going to sell your Bitcoin? And I say, into what? What am I going to do? Take the currency of the future and trade it for the currency of the past? What? It's like taking dollars and converting them to Confederate dollars, or taking euros, converting them to French francs or drachma. I mean, you don't want those.
I remember drachma.
Those currencies are no good.
No good, yeah.
And I remember, so I'm very excited about the future. I think we're going to have a currency that is global and no longer tribal. All our currencies were tribal. We used to all be tribal until the internet came along. The borders really meant something important, like you don't cross this border or else we're going to have a war.
Right.
But now we want to cross the borders because we want to trade. And that all came with the internet. And now with Bitcoin, we have something to trade with.
But so back in 2014.
That's trusted on both sides of that border.
Yeah. It's back in 2014, when Bitcoin was around 400, you predicted it would get to 10,000. And I think people were making fun of that statement. And all those people have eaten their words now, right? And because it got there a few times already now, and now it's at 60,000, 55 today, was 60 a couple of days ago. So you seem to know something that others don't. Before we get into the rest of the conversation, this is just a question I want to ask. Where do you see its value going in the next 3 to 5 years, let's say?
Well, so in 2013, Bitcoin was about 200, and I made that prediction that it would hit 10,000 by 2017 on Fox News. So we are actually.
So you did it publicly, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and then weirdly, about 3 years to the day, it hit 10,000, and it went beyond that, came back down to about 4,000 in 2018, and I predicted then that it would hit 250,000 by 2022, and I'm saying the end of 2022 or early 2023, we'll see it hit 250,000, and I'll tell you the reasoning I have. Every industry goes through this sort of thing where you kind of go, it goes up to a point and then it drops back down. It's kind of a hype point because everybody's saying, "Oh my God, this is going to be so great!" And everybody's excited about it, but it's not ready yet. It's not ready for prime time yet, and so then it drops back down while all those engineers are working and building and making it so that it fulfills its dream that was at the top of the hype curve there. And then it goes way beyond what anybody ever imagined. And so I think the 250,000 might be conservative, but I felt that it would get to a point after all the engineers had figured out that they could, once they had figured out how to put it together, like take the blockchain, turn it into a balance sheet and an income statement, be able to tax with it, have the ability to accept it as retailers, and have the transactions happen as quickly as they do with the Visa network. That it would be that this only represents like 5% of all the market for currency, and I thought, well, yeah, it can definitely hit that. And then I actually think from there, it goes up steadily because it's going to be needed. More and more people are going to be using it, and they'll use it not just for a store of value, not just for remittance, not just for micropayments, but for as a currency. And so it's going to have that value. It'll just keep going.
There's so many parts I want to talk about, so I'll try and keep it to the topic, which I said before, because I'm interested in a few of these points. But if we're talking about the mass adoption of crypto across the economies and stuff like that, right? At the moment, like it is a store of value, right? So people don't want to spend it because at the moment, like it's going up. So if you'd bought a car 3 months ago for $10,000, but it was the one Bitcoin, that car now, you'd be like, well, that would have been a $60,000 car, right? And so when do you think it will stop being a store of value and start being a currency? Because right now I wouldn't want to spend it on anything because I'll know that maybe it's going to triple in price in 3 months, in 6 months, in like a year. So when do you think that will happen?
Well, I mean, that's what makes it a horse race, is that there's always somebody on the other side saying it's coming to an end. And when they do, then they'll go ahead and spend theirs. So I'm not. I'm a hodler, and I'm an acquirer.
So just for the
because I look and I say,
just for the listeners, So the person that's a hodler is someone who holds on for dear life. It's a blockchain statement because of the fluctuations over the past 5 years. A hodler. Yeah. Sorry, Tim.
And I'm also looking and saying, well, how much fiat cash do I need to make all my capital calls and support my family and that kind of thing? And then what's left? And it's either in startups or it moves into Bitcoin, and that's kind of that's been my investment strategy, my personal investment strategy. But what's happened is a lot of these things have happened. So Cryptio creates a balance sheet and an income statement off of the blockchain. So a tax authority can go in and tax you in Bitcoin if you have like Bitcoin walled garden business. And then OpenNode allows any retailer to accept Bitcoin, and it's faster than the Visa network. My big hope is that I am going to be able to raise a fund in Bitcoin, say pay me in fiat, turn it all into Bitcoin, then invest in Bitcoin into all these startups, and then have all the startups pay their employees and suppliers in Bitcoin, and have the whole thing on a smart contract, so that we keep perfect records, not just between me and my investors, but also between me and my entrepreneurs, and so that the entrepreneur can easily show, look, here's how we've spent the money. And so I can keep an eye on how people are spending their money, and I can say, well, what about this? And he said, oh yeah, that was a mistake we made back when. How about this? And he says, oh, I didn't really see that. And we've got to figure out how to tighten that up or do something with it. That kind of thing is very difficult to do with fiat and banks and entrepreneurs. But if it's the whole cash flow is all done in Bitcoin, it can be automatic, and you won't need the accountant, the auditor, the bookkeeper. You don't even need the lawyer for the whole thing, because it would all be built in a smart contract. So that's the vision I have, at least in my world.